Hello and welcome to Enlightened Empaths, your community for the spiritually awakened. This week we're bringing to you our Community Connection show, which is a favorite of mine and Denise's, where we get to share your stories, your comments, and your questions. So please sit back and pour yourself a cup of tea and join us at the table as we share what our listeners have sent in. If you ever want to share a story or a comment or a question for the show, don't forget, you can always email us, enlightenedempaths@gmail.com, or you can message us on Facebook, Enlightened Empaths. You can also find me on Instagram at Chakra Chick. I just learned how to check messages there, Denise. I didn't even know that you could message people on Instagram.
That's on my list, my business list for this coming quarter, is to learn Instagram and start using it more. I have followers, and the poor things, I don't ever put anything on there, so I need to get that in gear. But thank you. That's a good tip to know.
Yeah, we're getting there. All right, do you want to start with the first question?
I'd love to. Thank you. Hello, I'm a multi-type empath getting ready to turn 60 next month, and I really thought that I was blocking enough that I was okay dealing with different people and their negative energies, until recently when I realized that I truly need to stop denying who I am and go back to being the real me. I am also a personality type INFJ. The only thing I was blocking was my own energies. I've been an empath all my life. My children, my grandchildren are also. One type of empath that I really had no idea even existed until listening to your podcast was the physical medical empath. My husband has been suffering for quite some time with medical issues that I had taken on. I'm not a healer and have no idea how to stop this. My clear standout and specific example is that he's suffering with extreme shoulder and arm pain. I began to have the same pain in the same arm with no injury or fall. He's been away on business for 2 months, and my shoulder and arm are nearly pain-free. I've not had too many flare-ups of the chronic pain and fibromyalgia since he's been away either. We haven't been apart for quite some time, so there was that constancy in the energies. I strongly believe that him being away has helped my health. I'm really very scared and worried that when he returns, the pain will start again, as well as the flare-ups. I don't think that divorce is an option. Do you have any suggestions to help me? Keep up the great podcasts. I love them. So helpful.
Well, here's what I think. I think that most of us empaths are innately people pleasers. We want everyone to be happy and to feel good about themselves. And so one thing that empaths do naturally is we will match our vibration to the people around us. So if we are around happy, positive people, we'll match and we'll raise our vibrations to be happy and positive. If we're around depressed or sad people, we will intuitively lower our vibrations to match theirs and comfort their energy down where it is. If we are with angry people, sometimes we will, if we are trained, block that energy, but oftentimes, unknowingly, we'll match it and get angry and defensive as well. So that's why I think it's so important to at least recognize that you are an empath and start to spot when your mood elevates or lowers. Now, with medical, physical empathy, I do think there's a lot of things that you can do other than divorce. One of the things that I would recommend is that you try to distance yourself emotionally from his physical stuff, which I know is hard to do. But when you see your husband in pain, try to actually block your solar plexus. That's often where we will cord in with someone and start to match their vibration to subconsciously heal them. And so you could just, keep your arms crossed over your stomach. You could wear a long chain around your neck so that there's a nice stone blocking that. There's some wonderful crystals for this, like black kyanite, shungite, or pneumite, I would recommend. Labradorite is a wonderful crystal for empaths because it helps to protect your energy from negative influences while still keeping you open to the positive ones. Echo Bodine has a great suggestion that I have yet to try, but I actually bought all the supplies because I want to make my own. She said if you wear a mirror around your neck, it will do wonders to deflect negative energy from coming at you. And mirrors have been used throughout the ages for lots of spiritual things, but they have been used for protecting us, because what happens is if that negative vibration of physical arm or shoulder pain is being directed at you unwittingly, I'm not suggesting at all that her husband is doing this on purpose, it's just in the energetic vibrations, that mirror will work to put a shield around your body. And so one of the things I did, I just went to Michael's and I bought the little circle mirrors. I bought a little clip thing that you can glue onto it to hang around a chain. And then I'm just getting my crystal chips and I'm going to seal them around on the edge to make like a little frame. So that's something that I would recommend. I'd also recommend that she do cord cutting. And again, the black kyanite is a great stone for that. And if you start to feel the pain flare up, you can do a cord cutting meditation. You can also just take the black kyanite, the wand shape with the point at the end, and point it towards your solar plexus. Go in a direction that is counterclockwise to you and pull out that pain. If it's right in your shoulder, you can direct it there as well. If you go to my other podcast, Psychic Teachers, and you listen to the last episode we posted in December of 28, I posted a cord cutting meditation to help you cut cords to people, situations, and aspects of yourself. And that will at least teach you how to do a cord cutting meditation. How about you, Denise? Do you have any recommendations?
That covered a lot. I do know that a lot of times when I'm doing readings or talking with people, especially if I care about them, I will physically react. If they have an upset stomach, if they're stressed, if they're having anxiety, I'll physically start to feel that. A quick thing to do is just ask yourself in your head, is this mine? And even though you know that this is coming from your husband, that helps to almost deflect some of it a little bit back. Also, I've found that it's a wonderful way to have compassion and use your empathy in a positive way. So if you're physically feeling that, a way to give it back is your shoulder really flaring up, or because you're trying to, I'm sure you love him dearly and you don't want to suck up all that tense energy in your own body, but by deflecting it back and sending it with love, that will not only protect you, but it will help your husband deal with that chronic pain as well.
Beautifully said. And if you guys are listening to this thinking, gosh, do I do that? Think back to your childhood and think back, if you manifested your emotions in physical ways, like for example, if you were really, really nervous about the first day of school and you would get a really bad tummy ache or butterflies in the stomach or feel nauseous, or if you had to do a presentation at school and just the thought of standing in front of all those people gave you a sore throat, if you had physical reactions to emotional situations, it can indicate that you do take on other people's emotions and that you manifest your own in physical ways.
One other thing is there's an amazing book, The Secret Language of Your Body by Inna Segal, Innasegal. And it's very similar to Louise Hay's work on Heal Your Body, but it goes into very distinct details about what emotionally, what may be going on in your life that we manifest physically. It's a very helpful book. There are some exercises in there on how to release some of the things that you may be bringing in emotionally that does manifest, but it's a nice resource to have.
Perfect. Okay, our next question is one we've gotten before. I think it's a really good one. Hi, ladies. I'm starting to branch into free readings for others in order to develop my skills as a psychic and tarot reader. I've been studying the tarot for years, and I'm wondering how you both handle questions clients have about other people in their lives, such as, is my best friend happy in her relationship, or what does John Smith think about me? I imagine you invite the sitter to rephrase the question and focus on themselves, but which is the best way to tactfully approach it? I appreciate any advice you ladies have and just have to let you know I love your podcast. Well, thank you. Do you want to tackle that one first?
Well, I love that she's opening up and using her skills more as a psychic and a reader. We need more positive readers who have a good heart and are doing it for the right reason. That's definitely, and the fact that she mentioned she's been studying for years. So it's not, oh, I got a deck, I'm doing readings, putting my shingle out, which I respect greatly as well. And I'm very caught up. One of the phrases that I use a lot when I'm doing a reading and they're asking about someone else is, I'll make it really clear, I don't want to peek in their psychic windows. And I've heard that expression years ago when someone said, would you ever walk up to someone's house and look in their windows and spy on them? And I was horrified. And I said, oh my God, no, I'd never do that. And they said, that's the same thing you're doing if you're looking into someone's energy that hasn't asked you to be there. So I think that it really, if it does come up in a reading about someone else, it's usually out of concern, or if there are some red flags about your friend. I think that it's really the most important thing I would say about that is stay ethical and be sure that you're respecting both the people that you're tapping into their energy for.
Yeah, I agree. I think if someone asks me a question about their children, I do answer that because I feel like they are the parents. They are in charge of their religious faith, their education, their health, their decisions. And so if someone will say to me, you know, I think my son might be doing drugs, can you tune in and see if you feel him getting healthy soon? I will try my best to answer that. Very often, the guides will kind of block it from me and they will redirect me toward the parent and what the parent can do to best be there for the child. However, I think sometimes, and I can only speak from my experience, I agree with everything Denise said. I think it's the mark of an ethical reader. I do not like it when someone says to me, like, is my boyfriend cheating on me? Because that does feel like you're peeking. And yet, sometimes I'll say, well, can you redirect that question? And then I'll pull the tarot cards and the cheater card will come up. You know, the one where he's stealing the cards and there's 3 people on the card and he's stealing the swords. So sometimes it'll come out anyway. And then sometimes I'm doing a reading and I really try, and I try to teach people how to do this. I just put my ego, myself, the Samantha person, I really push her to the side so that I'm just a light worker. And sometimes things just spill out of my mouth. I was doing a reading just the other week for a woman, and I said, wow, your mother-in-law can be a real bitch. That's not me. Like, I don't talk like that. It just kind of tumbled out. Do you ever have that happen?
All the time. And I want to just go back to add one more little part to what I said a minute ago, is a way to reframe that is, what's the energy that's highest and best around this situation with John Smith? Or what? Yeah. So really make it about the energy of the relationship, not that specific person. And I feel like that's ethical, but it also, and I do have that happen as well, where things will fly out of my mouth and people will generally validate it because it's either true or it's, right, or it gives them that freedom to, it opens up the energy in the reading. So if you do have those things, and it's never malicious or no, but I get it when it just comes through. And to me, that means that you've gotten out of the way and you're allowing spirit to come through as well. Spirit has a sense of humor.
I think that the fact that she's asking the question shows that she's going to be an ethical reader.
Yes.
And that's really the goal. And if you have that strong core and base of ethics at your center, your guides will direct you not only to say and do the right things with your readings, but I have found that they will work hard to direct you to the right clients who aren't going to ask you kind of manipulative questions like that.
Well, have you ever been doing a reading and you'll say a workplace environment and all of a sudden you'll get a flash of a specific person in the workplace environment? And I had this happen a little while back and I said, is there a woman who is, and I described her physically, and I said, she's showing me little red flags behind her back. So that's not really tapping into the person's energy, but it was validating for the woman I was reading for. And it was also, she's saying, okay, that makes perfect sense because of, ABC has been happening. So sometimes people will come into a reading that are connected with the person, and I view that differently as specifically asking about them.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. And I just have to add, I do like peeking in people's houses. Like at night when I walk the dogs, I love to look at how people decorated their tree, and I guess that means I'm nosy. I love to go to the parade of homes and look at, how they decorated the new homes.
Well, that's different than like creeping into the bushes and peeking in.
Oh, okay. So I'm like, gosh, am I a nosy body and I don't even know it? I love to see how people decorate their homes. Okay. Would you like to read the next question?
I would love to. I've been struggling with a situation that feels to be going nowhere, and one morning, while letting my mind wander over the situation, I heard clearly in my head, leave room for grace. I know it's a message from the universe because I'm not actually really sure what grace is. Yesterday, I got around to listening to your podcast on surrender, and as you and Denise got further into the discussion, it began to click for me that this is what I'm being asked to do. I'm being asked to surrender all the expectations I have for the situation that are bringing me frustration and heartbreak. At the end of the episode, you say to surrender, to ask for that help, and it'll just come into your life like grace. When I heard that, I immediately started crying, which, embarrassing as it is how I know in my gut the truth of the moment. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you and the universe for this synchronicity and all the incredible love and support for us empaths you both share every week. I love how you discuss not only using intuition and sensitivity, but how to navigate the spiritual life in a wise and healthy way. You both are so wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love that. I love that question, and thank you for your kind words. That's it helps us a lot to know that we're on the right track, and that the reason we started this was to help people find their own inner knowing and truth. So thank you for validating that for us.
I agree. So she wanted us to talk more about what grace is. And I think that's such a big question. I kind of felt overwhelmed reading it. Like I kind of felt like I'm not the person to answer that question. It's something that I'm still trying to figure out. But I did Google the spiritual definition of grace. And it's defined, at least online, as the divine influence which operates in humans to regenerate and sanctify, to inspire virtuous impulses, and to impart strength to endure trial and resist temptation, and as an individual virtue or excellence of divine origin. So I read that and I thought, the hell does that mean? Right? And then I thought, okay, well, Samantha, what do you think about when you think about the word grace? And Grace Kelly popped into my head. Grace on a non-spiritual point of view, if you say, oh, she's so graceful, that is someone who is at ease in her body, at ease in her world, and handles situations, whether they are positive or negative, with grace, with a sense of positivity and acceptance. So I define grace as accepting that we have free will, which does include responsibility for our actions and our reactions and choices, coupled with the need to ask for help. So I think it's this balancing. It's like you have to accept your part in the situation while at the same time relinquishing your need to control the situation. It's like this beautiful dance of setting your intentions and then surrendering the outcome to the universe with perfect trust and acceptance that all will work out for your highest good. To me, it's like accepting the cards that life has dealt you with an attitude of trust and faith. I'm not saying that's easy. I'm just saying that's how I look at it. I see so many people, and God knows I've gotten there too, but they'll get stuck in that complaining mode. Why did this happen to me? Why didn't that happen to me? That's not responding to situations with grace. That's having what I call an adult temper tantrum. And I think grace is picking yourself up off the floor, wiping your tears, and facing the difficult situation with grace. It's the ability to go through life as a co-creator, where sometimes you are in charge, But just as often, you have to throw up your arms and open your hands and ask for help, knowing that you will receive it.
That was beautifully put, very beautifully put. And the one thing I'd like to add is all of what you said, but also I see it as a true connection to divine when you reach that place where you just kind of step back and you say, okay, similar to when you're in a place and you say the Lord will provide. You've completely let go of the reins. You've let go of how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, if it's going to happen. And you just step off the precipice and say, okay, please catch me. And that's how Grace feels to me. Grace is also the name of my petulant little corgi downstairs. And Amazing Grace is what pops into my head when I hear Grace. And that's why Grace, the corgi, has her name. But I think that it's very, very much about honoring your heart, your light, your soul, and trusting that you're not alone with this, and that those in spirit and our guides and our angels and all that is are working with us in tandem. So when you said co-create, that really, really resonated for me as a term to use with the word grace.
And I just want to add one thing I've learned going through my own difficult situations and trying to help people going through their own dark nights of the soul. Do not, and again, just my opinion, do not get caught up in the why. Like, why is this happening to me? What is this supposed to teach me? What lessons am I supposed to learn? I do think it's important to reflect on that. But sometimes I think we need to accept that shit happens.
Yes.
And the only aspect, well, not the only, there's a couple of others. One of the main aspects I don't like in the metaphysical community is this unspoken blame on the person when bad stuff happens to them.
Right.
If you watch The Secret, there's a moment where that guy, the one who's like kind of balding, got little hair on the sides, he actually says, if you're sick, if you're in debt, you created that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Like, take my situation with breast cancer. My great-grandmother had breast cancer. My aunt had breast cancer. My sister had breast cancer. I got breast cancer. Did I create that? I don't know. Is that just genetic? So I just want to say, I think part of grace is not always taking all the blame for the crap life throws at you, but also not wallowing in the need to project blame. It's really about acceptance and surrender, and then it's about creating and asking for that help. Okay, I will stop rattling on.
No, but it was all very well put.
Our next question says, hi ladies, I've been seeing the number 444 every single day in some type of way. I've asked my guides what this could mean for me, did copious amounts of research, and nothing seems to resonate with me. I even had my tax return come in today, and my ID filing number is 444. Another tangible instance was during a therapy session last week. The child I have been working with, who is mostly nonverbal, said to me when I walked in, 444. I said to him, not you too. He immediately knew what I was talking about and laughed. I even turned off my phone at 4 o'clock just so I wouldn't see it later when I was at a basketball game, but then I saw 444 on the scoreboard. I wonder if you have any advice. So I have a couple of thoughts on that, but you jump in.
No, go ahead.
I think 4 is the number of balance. You need 4 legs to balance a table. We've got the 4 directions, the 4 seasons. So 4 is always going to bring you a message of needing to get your life and your emotions and your intents and wishes and dreams and hopes and goals into balance. Now she's seeing 3 of them. So she's seeing 3 number 4s. 3 is the number of communication. So to me, seeing 3 repeating 4s is a message that your angels and guides are trying to communicate to you, that you need to get in touch with your intuition by seeking balance in your life and awakening to your true intuitive self.
See, now I've always heard 444 as being an angel number, that's a sign of divinity, of your guardian angel, or working with angels, or angels are present around you. And that goes back to I think Doreen Virtue's Angel Number book. There was a lot written in that. So, I mean, you know the numerology much more strongly than I do, but I always see fours as building a foundation, setting new boundaries. And I think that that is something that's going on for a lot of people right now as well.
Well, see, and here's the thing we all need to think about. If 444 to you, Denise, means angels are around you,
Right.
then your angels are going to use that to communicate with you.
Yes.
A message of we're here. If 444 to me means balance and getting in touch with your inner self to fully awaken your intuition, then they're going to show me that. So that's why I'm always kind of against Googling, what do other people say this means?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so important to ask yourself, what does the number 4 mean to me? What's going on in my mind, in my life, in my heart when I see this repeating pattern? Like really go within and try to get those answers. I think that's key with everything in life is, Google it, research it, ask your friends. I mean, I do that. If I have a weird dream, I'll Google what does it mean to see books flying in your house? And then I'll ask my friends, what do you think this weird dream means? But at the end of doing all of that seeking, I go within and I say, what do I think this means for me? Because your guides and angels are always going to use what's in your subconscious, what's in your belief system to connect with you.
Right.
So don't listen to anything we say.
Or pick out what fits best for you.
Exactly. All right, you go ahead.
Okay. Hello. I love listening to your podcast, and I have a dream question. I just woke up from a very vivid dream about a thin, white, elderly man who had a very painful cancer. In the dream, the man was my grandfather, but in reality, I had never seen him before. In the dream, he was depressed about his cancer because he had lived a healthy life in the hopes of avoiding being sick, and the doctors had told him that was why he got cancer. In the dream, I walked in the bathroom of the house, and he was crying. I wanted to comfort him, but felt weird about it because I didn't feel that close to him. He asked me for a flat iron for hair. I gave it to him. I then left, and after a few minutes, the lights in the house started to flicker, and then I realized he had committed suicide by filling up the bathtub and putting the plugged-in flat iron in the tub. After this, my dream kind of changed into a routine dream of waiting for fire trucks. I'm not sure if this was a spirit coming to me or just a dream. If it is just a dream, do you know how I would go about trying to interpret it? It was so real, and I just don't understand why I would have a dream like that. Those troubling dreams, my goodness, because I felt my heart just start to race a little bit about this one. Those dreams when something's happening and you can't fix it or you can't make it okay. One of the things that, as far as when we dream about houses, the specific rooms in the house are usually, they usually coincide with something that's going on physically. So bathrooms a lot of time can be about needing to eliminate something in your life, or elimination or things going down the drain. It can also be on a more medical issue. It can be about circulation. It can be about literally needing to go to the bathroom. So I always like to see Kevin Tedeschi's book on dream interpretation is incredible as far as getting a lot of different nuances about symbols in dreams.
I'm sure you know where I'm going to go with this. I think she's a night worker.
Right.
Yeah, we talked about this in our mediumship webinar. I think that when you have dreams that are messages for you, you're usually more involved in the dream in some direct way. And usually there's going to be important symbols in that dream. Now, I could interpret this dream. It could be that there's a side of her that's doing everything right and it's still not working out. And she just wants to go, oh, bleep it, and just, go forth and do whatever the hell she wants to do. Because, in the dream he said, I did everything right. I was healthy and I still got cancer. So you could interpret it that way. There's something about this, though, that makes me feel that she might be a night worker. And in my view, a night worker is someone who is a natural medium. And when they sleep, they astral travel to souls who have passed, who are having a difficult time accepting that they have passed. Usually it is someone who has passed from a suicide. Often it can be murder. Sometimes it can just be a quick passing, like a car accident or a quick stroke or a heart attack where boom, they're out of their body. I've had so many experiences like this in my life. I've written most of them down. They're incredibly real, and I don't forget them. Now, I've had other powerful dreams in my life that are important for me personally, and I forget them. And I know I forget them because my friend Joel, he's the nice guy that listens to all my ramblings about my dreams. Everyone needs a friend like that. And he'll remember them. He'll go, remember you had that weird dream about the mice building a house under your deck? And I'll go, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that. But when I have dreams where I'm talking to people about the last moments of their life, it's so real that it's not like recalling a dream. To me, it's like recalling an event that actually happened. And so I truly believe that some of us have agreed to help people cross over and realize that they are deceased. Do you mind if I tell the same story I told last night?
Oh, not at all.
All right. You're gonna get so bored of hearing this story, Denise. You're gonna tune out the next time we teach. But the first time I realized that this was what was happening was when I had this dream where I was standing on the side of a highway and there was a car accident. There was a redheaded young man and a redheaded young woman. I knew they were brother and sister. I knew they had just died. I could see them in the car, and I could see them standing next to me. And they were very dazed and confused, as the saying goes. I could feel my guide, one of my guides behind me. I never turned around to look at her. I could just feel her and hear her. And she said, they're in shock, ask them their names. So I did. And they couldn't answer me. She said, ask them their birthdays, and I did. They couldn't answer me. She said, ask them where they are. And they were in shock. They were just staring at me, and they were just staring at their bodies. And I said, at one point, I said to my guide, can you just do this? Because they're not hearing me. And she said, no, that's why we need you. We need people like you who are on Earth because they can't hear us. They're not vibrating at our level. So they can't hear us. They can't even see the light. And
wow.
It was really interesting. And I remember I kept trying to ask them those same questions over and over. What is your name? When were you born? Where are you? Do you know what happened? And finally, they were still just staring at me, gobsmacked. And she said to someone else standing behind me, we got to take this up. And in the next minute, we were in the tunnel. And then other people came in to help them. Because I guess I kind of failed at that job. But it reminded me of several other dreams I've had where that has happened. I'm with someone at the last moments of their death, and I'm just telling them it is okay. You have died. You have to go into the light. Sometimes all I do is sit there and hold their hand while they show me their last moments. It's like they need someone to witness it, to validate it, so they can have someone else say, yes, this happened. I'm sorry it happened, but you're going to be okay. I think it's a real phenomenon, and luckily in the webinars that Denise and I have been teaching, I've been meeting a lot of other people who have these experiences. I think it's cool. I think it's a wonderful service.
Very much so. And it's a different type of calling because it's not something that I do or would be comfortable with. When we were doing the class last night, we talked about that. And there were probably about maybe a third of the group that have had these types of dreams, that have had these kind of experiences. And I do think it's similar to some people are rescue mediums, or they're good with cold cases, or they're good with, other things. So finding what that means for you is really, really important. But that was a nice description as well.
It's interesting. It is frustrating though, because at least I don't have control over it. It's not like I'm lucid dreaming. It's not like I go to sleep and say, I would like to help a soul cross. It just happens. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. But I do think it's a lovely service. And I do think it's a real thing.
Yes.
Okay. Our next question says, hi ladies, long time listener, first time caller. That would be fun to have callers. I just had an experience in a dream that I would love to get some insight from you on. I am single, and recently I've become ready to meet my soulmate. Last night, I believe they came into my dream. I am a medium and have communicated with departed loved ones in dreams, and this felt just like that, like a soul communication as opposed to a regular dream. I'm wondering what this means. Is this my soulmate saying we are ready to meet? Is there anything I should be doing to manifest meeting this person? Any thoughts that you can share would be much appreciated. Like so many, I look up to you as teachers and guides, and I'm grateful to you for sharing your light.
I think it's wonderful acknowledging, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to meet the person to come into my life. I think the fact that this person is a medium and has communicated with departed loved ones, so understands that it didn't just feel like a dream and it felt like a deeper level of communication. I've talked with a lot of people and done readings with people who will say things like, I'm waiting for, and they'll describe and they'll say, I know because I've dreamt of him or I've dreamt of her. My only concern with that is that can limit someone else coming into your life if you're that set on it being that specific person. It could be a guide. It could be someone else who's going to introduce you to the person that you're bringing into your life. So I'm always a little similar to if you're trying to manifest a partner in your life, don't put a face. You know, if you're a very tall woman and you want a tall man, then yes, you may want to put that on your manifestation of the man I want to bring into my life. I'd like him to be tall. And I don't mean that in an ego-based way. I just mean for being a tall person. It's a nice thing to have someone tall in your life. I'm not saying it wasn't the soulmate, but I wouldn't want to limit it to being that.
I agree. And I think sometimes when we put such a mystical spin on meeting someone, it can overemphasize the relationship, which can be not always a great idea either. You know, I've had so many clients who will say to me as they're going through a divorce, but I dreamt of him 3 times before we met. I know we are meant to be together. Why have I suddenly fallen out of love? So sometimes it can make all aspects of the relationship very, very heightened. However, when I was responding to her when she sent this question, I told her there's a opening chapter in Phyllis Karat's witchcrafting book. And she talks about dreaming about this very specific man on a motorcycle. And he asked her to jump on, and she did. And she woke up and was like, what the heck was that about? And then the next day, her friend called her and said, hey, my husband and I are setting you up with one of his friends. Don't say no. And Phyllis said, what car does he drive? And she said, a motorcycle. And she said, I'll be there. And they've been married ever since.
And that's a beautiful way to look at it, because it can be that literal. It really can be. And also for the folks who may have had a relationship that, and I've always said this to my sons, I loved your father very much, but we went in different directions. And that's not a story I need to share on here right now. But one of my greatest teachers, I learned things from that relationship that I never would have learned any other way. And so I don't have regrets. I don't have bitterness or anger, because I couldn't be who I am now, and I couldn't have the empathy and compassion I have for so many things if I hadn't gone through some of the things in our relationship. The other thing that really popped out about me in this is, as this is coming up more and more and more with things that I'm hearing, reading, is work on you. Work on being, be fun, be happy, love yourself, celebrate your eccentricity. I stumbled on that a little bit, because that's what's going to, if you want to truly bring in a soulmate or someone to share your life with, you want them to see your truest self. And that is when you're happy and when you're upbeat and when you're doing things you like to do. Because I don't think any of us want to hide anymore who we are just to have someone in our lives or in a relationship.
Well, that's so well said. I think that is the best way to invite in your soulmate, is to love yourself, and practice affirmations. I think affirmations are wonderful. I am worthy, deserving of, and ready for true love now. And just repeat that over and over and over again, and do lots of heart chakra opening meditations too. I also think it's important to go throughout your day with an energy of love. Send love to the trees that you pass on your way to work. Send love to the people in the cars that you are passing by. Pray for the animal you see on the side of the road who maybe didn't make it past the road. Say prayers for your coworkers as you walk in to work. Just go throughout your day with this energy of love.
Right.
I think that's really, really important. Okay, I think we have time for one more.
Okay. I was listening to your beautiful podcast about the empath and surrender. I believe it was Samantha who said anger is a positive emotion. Unfortunately, she didn't elaborate much on that, which left me wanting more. That prompted me to reach out to you. I loved that episode, and I would love to hear some more about that topic, since I would love to learn how to navigate and utilize this emotion. Okay. For me, anger is often a catalyst to get my shit together and move in a new direction. It might flare hot and fast, but it's what I need to start saying, okay, what do I need to do to change if this is having such a visceral reaction in me?
I agree. One quote that I read years ago really helped me switch my view on anger. When I was growing up, only one person in the family was allowed to be angry, and the rest of us just had to tiptoe around that. So I was always taught, not overtly, no one said, you can't be angry, Samantha. But as a child, I was subconsciously taught, you can't be angry. You don't have a right to your anger. And I think women in particular are taught this a lot. There's no, oh, girls will be girls mantra. We are taught to always be kind and gentle and sweet. So I resisted my anger for a long time, and that's incredibly unhealthy. And then I read this quote by St. Augustine where he says, hope has two beautiful daughters. Their names are anger and courage. Anger at the way things are, courage to see that they do not remain as they are.
Oh.
And so I started to look at that quote through the eyes of history, because history is always my greatest teacher. And I started to see that most of the really good things in life were born out of anger. America, which I think is the greatest country because I'm American. But no, America really is a great, really is. It's a great, we have this wonderful democracy. We have lots of wonderful things about us. And we were born out of anger. We were pissed off at the British. And that Declaration of Independence has really helped to bring freedom and hope and opportunity to so many people. The Great Depression, that was a terrible time, and people got angry. They got so angry that because this big giant thing called the stock market crashed, farmers and mill workers and factory workers didn't have jobs, and they thought this isn't right, and they started to protest. And out of that came unions and Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. And we never would have had that if people hadn't have gotten angry. But World War II was a terrible time, but it forced us to be angry and to say, no, this can't happen. And out of World War II, we got the civil rights movement and the women's rights movement, because people started to see, oh, this putting people into boxes and blaming them for everything and being racist and prejudiced doesn't really work. I'm not saying the civil rights movement cured everything or the women's, but at least it started a discussion. And so I think if you look at your own life, anger is a great motivator. And whenever you are angry in your life, do not deny that anger. Sit with it. Invite it in. Anger is also like that little kid that doesn't get attention, and the more you ignore it, the angrier that kid's going to get. And so you've got to give your anger attention and talk to it. Have a conversation with your anger. Validate your anger. Yeah, you have every damn right to be angry. Now tell me why you're angry. Then you can go to courage. Then you can go to hope.
I love that. And I also want to add that as empaths, a lot of times when something hits us with that level of anger, it's something within us that we feel so passionate about. It might be something that that's wrong and I can't stand by this anymore, or something you want to advocate for, something you want to stand up for. So I see anger as a positive emotion with all of those things as well.
Yeah. It's been given a bad rap, and I get it, just on that lovely drive to work I was describing before where you're sending love to everyone, You are going to come across angry people on the road. People who are chronically angry, that's not what I'm talking about. And I know that's not what you're talking about. We're just talking about the often occurring but not constant emotion of anger. It can be incredibly motivating, and it will force you to invite in and create the change you need. So that's what I meant when I mentioned that. Well, we have so many more questions to get to, but we have run out of time. So we will save these questions and we will cover them in our next Community Connections show. I did want to remind everybody that Denise and I are teaching an advanced mediumship webinar. We're going to be teaching that Fridays at lunchtime in March and Thursdays in the evening in April. If you have taken our Mediumship 101 class and you'd like to move forward to the Advanced Mediumship, please go to Denise's website, thegratefulmessenger.com, and sign up. We're also going to be teaching a couple more webinars in late spring, and we'll share those with you hopefully in a couple of weeks when we get our dates firmed up. Next week, please tune in again. We're going to have a wonderful psychic author named Lisa Campion. She has written a wonderful book on Reiki psychics, like how to use Reiki to enhance your intuition. And she's about to come out with a new book on energy vampires. So we're going to be talking to her about Reiki and being psychic and protecting yourself from energy vampires. It's a jam-packed show. So we hope you tune in for that. In the meantime, don't forget to show up, do great work, and share your light. Take care, everyone.
Bye.